Hello and welcome to Weekly News Highlights. I'm Kim Dami in Seoul. Let's recap the week with keywords that made headlines this week. The fifth and sixth hearings of President Yoon Suk-yeol's impeachment trial took place this week, with key witnesses in attendance who claimed Yoon did order the removal of lawmakers from the National Assembly on the night of the martial law order. U.S. President Donald Trump agreed to postpone issuing tariffs on Canada and Mexico for at least a month after they pledged to relieve Trump's worries over border security and drug trafficking. South Korean government and along with some leading local firms have blocked access to Chinese AI service DeepSeek over growing worries about user data collection. The fifth and sixth hearings of President Yoon's impeachment trial took place on Tuesday and Thursday, respectively. Thursday's hearing largely centered on testimonies that contradicted Yoon's argument that he did not order the military to drag out lawmakers from the National Assembly when issuing the martial law order. Our Oh Soo-young starts us off.
There were strong clashes on Thursday over whether President Yoon Suk-yeol had ordered soldiers to pull out members of parliament to stop them overturning martial law on December 3rd. This came at Yoon's sixth impeachment trial hearing, where former Army Special Warfare Commander Kwak Jong-un stood witness by the request of the National Assembly. Kwak firmly maintained his position that the president in a phone call ordered him to drag out lawmakers or 의원 from the National Assembly, not agents or yoon, as claimed by Defense Minister Kim Yong-yeon.
At the time, the 707th Special Mission Forces were in a standoff and weren't inside the main building. Since I received the call in that context, I naturally assumed he was referring to National Assembly members and understood it that way.
Then, with questions fired over his choice of words, he admitted the president told him to pull out the numbers or 인원, not legislators or 의원 inside the National Assembly. To this, President Yoon himself spoke out.
저는 그냥 사람이라는 이런 표현을 놔두고 또 의원이면 의원이지 인원이라는 말을 저는 써본 적이 없습니다.
Yoon also refuted the former commander's claim that the president and the defense minister did not want the number of legislators in the assembly to reach 150, the number of votes needed to pass a motion to revoke martial law.
한 명, 두 명을 몇 명이 가서 끄잡아낼 수 있는 게 아니라 151명이든 152명이든 다 끄잡아내야만 그 회의를 막을 수 있는 것인데 그런 상황을 충분히 아는 사령관 입장에서 만약에 전하 장관이 의원을 끄집어내라는 취지의 얘기를 했다면 그냥 즉각 이거는 지금 현재 상황이 이렇기 때문에 우리 병력으로는 불가능합니다라고 얘기하는 게 상식이지.
He accused Kwak of conspiring to impeach him, with First Deputy Director of the National Intelligence Service Hong Jang-won, who also testified unfavorably for Yoon. Kim Hyun-tae, commander of the 770th Special Mission Battalion, who led the break-in at the National Assembly, also testified on Thursday. He said Commander Kwak Jong-un did say the number of people should not exceed 150, and added that Kwak seemed to be relaying instructions from a higher authority rather than issuing a command. Kim said he did not receive any orders to remove or restrict the movement of legislators in the National Assembly, but to lock down the building. Presidential Secretary for Economic Affairs Park Chun-seop also testified, suggesting that Yoon's martial law was motivated by the opposition-led parliament's impeachment of various state officials, unilateral legislation, and slashing of the government's budget. As the testimonies continue, the National Assembly's impeachment panel accused Yoon of inconsistency.
He's abandoned his stance that he wanted to eradicate anti-state forces through martial law and is now solely focused on finding statements that are advantageous to him.
With many conflicting statements to cross-check and verify, it's still unclear how the court will manage the pace of the proceedings and whether it will choose to hear from more witnesses, as there are just 2 hearings left until next Thursday.
Court officer Chun Jae-yeon said Wednesday that scheduling additional hearings is at the court's discretion, and there's no official position yet. But she noted that trial dates can be postponed depending on circumstances. The court has approved a total of 16 witnesses requested by Yoon and the National Assembly, rejecting most of the more than 30 witnesses Yoon's team applied for. The next trial hearing takes place on Tuesday. Oseong, Arirang News.
At least $23 billion has been earmarked to support critical industries as Korea seeks a strategic edge over rising global competition. Our Choi Min-jung has more on this initiative.
South Korea has unveiled an ambitious plan to bolster the country's industrial competitiveness by establishing a strategic advanced industry fund worth over 34 trillion Korean won, or around $23 billion. The initiative, announced during a high-level ministerial meeting on Wednesday, aims to support critical industries, including semiconductors, batteries, automobiles, shipbuilding, and steel. Acting President and Finance Minister Choi Sang-mok emphasized industrial competitiveness as the backbone of South Korea's economy, urging swift action to maintain leadership in key sectors.
This fund will provide low-interest loans, equity investments, and other financial support to businesses.
The fund will be more than twice the size of the current 17 trillion won semiconductor financing program. It will focus on next-generation technologies, including AI-driven automation, advanced materials, and sustainable energy solutions. Small and mid-sized companies in the materials and equipment industries will receive increased financial support. The announcement comes amid escalating global trade uncertainties, including U.S. tariff adjustments and China's rising dominance in AI and advanced manufacturing.
A Chinese company recently unveiled the AI model DeepSeek R1, which delivers high performance at a low cost, coming as a fresh shock in the industry. The global AI race is evolving to a more complex competition.
The government has pledged speedy implementation of the fund, with concrete plans to be finalized by March in coordination with the National Assembly. Choi Min-jung, Arirang News.
South Korea's industrial output rose 1.7% last year on higher demand for semiconductors, but retail sales fell due to high inflationary pressure and poor consumer demand over the December martial law order.
South Korea's industrial production saw a rise in 2024, largely driven by a recovery in semiconductor exports. However, domestic consumption indicators remained sluggish, highlighting a growing disparity between sectors. According to data from Statistics Korea on Monday, the country's overall industrial production index showed a 1.7% year-on-year increase. This growth outpaced the 1% increase recorded in 2023 and comes due to a strong performance in the manufacturing sector. Manufacturing output rose by 4.4%, a turnaround from the 2.6% decline recorded in 2023. Semiconductors and pharmaceutical production played a key role with a surge in exports, but domestic manufacturing shipments fell by 2%, underscoring weak domestic demand. The service sector saw slower growth, seeing the lowest since the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020 due to a downturn in retail and wholesale trade and hospitality services. Retail sales dropped by 2.2%, which is the sharpest annual decline since 2003. This also marks 3 straight years of contraction in retail sales, the longest streak of decline since data collection began. Sales fell across all 3 categories measured: durable goods such as automobiles, non-durable goods such as food, and semi-durable goods such as clothing. A spokesperson from the agency said that the impact of the political turmoil and the Jeju Air plane crash in December on these numbers is yet unclear.
Declines in industries like food and services, lodging, arts, sports, and leisure may have been influenced by the political climate and national mourning period in December. That said, it's difficult to isolate the exact impact of these factors from the numbers.
Construction activity, particularly in building projects, also recorded the biggest drop since 2001 last year, with a decline in completed construction work. Capital investment, however, grew by 4.1%, driven by increased spending on semiconductor manufacturing equipment and transportation equipment. Moon Hae-ryun, Arirang News.
International credit rating agency Fitch has kept South Korea's credit rating at AA-, maintaining a stable outlook for the country. Fitch reaffirmed South Korea's rating on Thursday, citing strong external finances, stable economic performance, and a dynamic export sector. It believes the current political uncertainty will have a minimal short-term impact on Korea's economy. While acknowledging ongoing political risks, Fitch said it does not expect them to significantly undermine the institutions or governance of South Korea. Now, growth is forecast to slow in 2025, but Fitch said recovery is expected in 2026, supported by improving consumption and investment. Economies around the world are bracing for a potential trade war triggered by recent tariff announcements by U.S. President Donald Trump. For this week's Weekly Focus, we take a closer look at the matter with our trade correspondent, Lee Soo-jin. Welcome back, Soo-jin.
Thank you for having me.
So, Soo-jin, walk us through what exactly happened for the past couple of days on the trade front.
Sure, so it has been a rather tumultuous couple of days on the economic front as Trump's tariff threats sparked concerns of a global trade war. On Saturday, local time, Trump announced 25% tariffs on goods from Canada and Mexico, while China was hit with a 10% tariff on various existing duty rates. Let's take a listen to what Trump said on tariffs.
And I don't want to use countries, I don't want to use names, but tariffs are very powerful, both economically and in getting everything else you want.
And what he wanted was for the three countries to address trade imbalances, national security concerns related to illegal immigration, and the influx of fentanyl into the United States. And while the tariffs were to go into effect on Tuesday, Trump on Monday decided to pause the implementation of the tariffs for Canada and Mexico for at least 30 days. This comes as Canada agreed to implement a $1.3 billion border plan, which includes reinforcing the border with nearly 10,000 frontline personnel, as well as strengthening resources to respond to fentanyl and money laundering. And Mexico agreed to place 10,000 National Guard troops along the U.S. border to prevent the flow of drugs.
And doesn't it look like another trade war between the U.S. and China is heating up, setting up for stage another long, costly battle like we saw 6-7 years ago?
Right, so like we just discussed, the U.S. tariffs on Canada and Mexico have been delayed for 30 days, but China was given no such reprieve. And Trump's 10% tariff on Chinese products took effect just after midnight Tuesday. Within minutes, China's finance ministry announced retaliatory tariffs of 15% on U.S. coal and LNG, as well as 10% on crude oil, farm equipment, and certain vehicles to take effect on February 10th. And according to this expert, China's choice of which items to impose tariffs on was deliberate.
The phenomenon here is the agricultural pickup trucks will make magnificent impacts on the agriculture area that are very strong supporters for Donald Trump. And another, the target items, coals and LNG, the oil refining the companies are also very strong supporters for Donald Trump.
And China on Wednesday, just one day after Trump raised border taxes on Chinese goods, filed a complaint with the World Trade Organization, calling the tariffs discriminatory and protectionist and a violation of true trade rules.
Soo-jin, then we have to talk about what Trump's tariffs mean for us, South Korea.
Right, so South Korea may actually see both risks and opportunities in regards to the tariffs on China. To start out with a positive, the tariffs imposed on China mean that Korean exporters may gain a competitive edge in supplying products that China previously dominated. This means that U.S. companies may shift their supply chains to South Korean firms. Let's take a listen.
In markets like the semiconductor industry, companies like SK Hynix already have a strong presence. And if tariffs are imposed on China, South Korean products could gain an even greater competitive advantage.
As semiconductors are South Korea's top export item, this would boost the country's trade surplus, but also enhance the global competitiveness of Korean chip makers like SK Hynix. But the expected drop in exports of Chinese goods to the U.S. may reduce Chinese orders for South Korea's key intermediate goods, such as chips, display panels, and batteries. Here's what the same expert said.
Our country's export structure depends on selling intermediate goods to China for them to be assembled into the final product for export to other countries. So if demand for China's goods declines, demand for these intermediate goods will also decline.
More than 85% of Korea's exports to China were intermediate goods, such as semiconductors, displays, and wireless communication components, according to the Korea International Trade Association. It's also important to note that there are also growing concerns about the possibility of tariffs on the EU and South Korea, as well as sector-specific tariffs on products such as semiconductors and steel.
Then how should the government and Korean firms respond to these ongoing, growing tariff threats?
Well, for one, staying proactive will be key in this turbulent trade environment. And the South Korean government is already doing so through measures announced on Wednesday that include establishing a strategic advanced industry fund worth over 34 trillion Korean won, or around $23 billion to boost industrial competitiveness. Let's take a listen.
Ongoing global trade uncertainties, including additional tariffs on China, require close attention. We will establish a strategic advanced industry fund at the Industrial Bank of Korea to support high-tech sectors like batteries and biotech.
The government also plans to carry out other industry-specific measures, such as strengthening U.S. outreach for semiconductor and battery companies, diversifying markets for the automotive sector, and mobilizing task forces. As for the private sector, SK Group Chairman Choi Tae-won will lead a delegation to Washington, D.C. on the 19th to discuss response strategies, with a meeting with Trump reportedly under discussion. And here's why this is important at this time.
While Trump has not targeted Korea directly, he is threatening tariffs on virtually everybody, said that he wanted to replace subsidies for semiconductor factories with high tariffs.
And moving forward, here's what companies that have factories in the U.S. can do, according to the expert I spoke to.
Many South Korean companies have factories in Republican-leaning U.S. areas, and by working with local politicians, they can argue that these tariffs could hinder job creation and investment.
I see. Sujin, thank you for the wrap-up today.
Anytime, Tommy.
U.S. President Donald Trump this week expressed his ambitions to take over Gaza and relocate Palestinians, despite raising the possibility of U.S. troops being sent to the enclave. Trump said that would not be necessary. Our Lee Seung-jae tells us more.
During a meeting with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu earlier this week, U.S. President Donald Trump proposed a U.S. takeover of Gaza and the relocation of 2 million Palestinians. The plan was heavily criticized by the international community, with some calling it a form of ethnic cleansing. However, the U.S. president revisited the proposal on Thursday. Taking to his social media platform, Truth Social, Trump said the Gaza Strip would be turned over to the United States by Israel at the conclusion of fighting. Under his proposal, Trump continued to explain that the Palestinians would have already been resettled in far safer and more beautiful communities with new and modern homes in the region. He added that the U.S. would be part of efforts to redevelop the enclave. However, he did not mention whether the Gazans would be allowed to return to their homes. Under international law, attempts at forced transfer of populations from occupied territory are strictly prohibited. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio on Thursday explained that the proposal for Palestinians to leave Gaza would be for an interim period while reconstruction took place. Amid concerns that the U.S. may also send troops to Gaza, which would lead to further tensions in the Middle East, Trump said that his proposal would not require any U.S. soldiers. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
Chinese AI service DeepSeek became much restricted in South Korea this week, with the new app being accused of excessive data collection. On Thursday, multiple ministries, including Foreign, Defense, Environment, and Finance, announced that access to DeepSeek on computers connected to external networks have been banned. Now, these are the ministries that handle a significant amount of classified information related to diplomacy, national security, and trade. This comes after the Ministry of Interior and Safety issued an advisory to central government ministries and 17 metropolitan and provincial governments, urging officials to be cautious when using generative AI services like DeepSeek and ChatGPT. South Korea's Personal Information Protection Commission sent an inquiry to DeepSeek's headquarters requesting details on its data collection and storage practices, but the company has yet to respond. And the private sector has also joined the bandwagon. Kakao, an official partner of OpenAI, recently banned its employees from using the service for work by citing security concerns. So did Samsung, SK, and LG Electronics. DeepSeek has also been banned from government computers in Australia and Japan, while Italy has gone as far as banning the app entirely. Now, over in the U.S., the state of Texas has blocked DeepSeek from government-owned devices. The European Union and the UK are also closely monitoring potential risks associated with Chinese AI platforms. OpenAI founder Sam Altman was here in Seoul this week for a number of events and meetings aimed at advancing AI collaboration. He announced a collaboration with South Korea's dominant mobile operator Kakao. Our Lee Soo-jin has this report.
ChatGPT developer OpenAI is looking to expand its presence in the South Korean market as Chinese startup DeepSeek poses a challenge to its position in the tech industry. OpenAI CEO Sam Altman, during a closed-door workshop held in Seoul on Tuesday, said that with its robust semiconductor and energy industries, Korea is a country that is actively adopting artificial intelligence. This marks Altman's third visit to South Korea and the first time an official OpenAI event took place in the country. As part of its efforts to stay competitive, OpenAI announced that it has entered into a joint strategic partnership with South Korea's leading messaging app operator, Kakao. Kakao CEO Jung Sina said on Tuesday that upcoming key Kakao services such as Kanana, an AI-integrated messenger app, will utilize OpenAI's latest AI technology APIs, application programming interfaces that allow developers to integrate OpenAI's language models such as ChatGPT into their own apps. But Kakao isn't the only Korean company OpenAI is planning to work more closely with, as Altman also met with SK Group chairman Choi Tae-won immediately after the workshop on Tuesday. Choi and Altman reportedly discussed potential areas of collaboration between OpenAI and SK Group, such as the supply of high-bandwidth memory from SK Hynix and the construction of an AI data center by SK Telecom. And in the afternoon, Altman met with Samsung Electronics chairman Lee Jae-yong and SoftBank CEO Masayoshi Son, who flew in from Japan in the morning to attend the meeting. This comes after SoftBank and OpenAI on Monday agreed to set up a joint venture in Japan, with SoftBank also committing to investing $3 billion annually to utilize OpenAI's technology. The three are expected to discuss ways to expand AI collaboration, namely Samsung Electronics' potential participation in the Stargate project, a $500 billion AI infrastructure initiative supported by U.S. President Donald Trump. Lee Soo-jin, Arirang News.
Korea's tteok, Korean rice cake, is a versatile staple that serves as both a casual street food and a ceremonial dish. In recent times, it's also been garnering a global fan base whose members have been sharing their own creative twists for it. Our Park Gon-woo has this story.
Chewy, bouncy Korean rice cakes are gaining global popularity. And it's not just on their own, but also in dishes made with them, including tteokbokki, or spicy stir-fried rice cakes, along with the growing presence of Korean content. Tteokbokki was even added to the Oxford English Dictionary last year. As interest in rice cake grows, foreigners are finding ways to make their own. One way for visitors to Korea is by taking one-day cooking classes.
I've seen many tteok-related videos with always these kind of platforms, TikTok, Instagram, and I always wanted to try them. They're becoming a boom right now because everybody wants to know more. And
these classes are getting even more popular than before, to the point where they fill up within a day of opening.
Foreign visitors, they're really hugely fan of Korean staple food of rice cake, so we decided to hold this class regularly. I think Korean food has always been a big trend, and I think also in the rice cake they added more of the global potentials here.
Back at their homes, people are getting more creative, inventing their own recipes instead of just following the originals. One example is the viral 꿀떡 cereal that even made its way back to Korea. So this is the 꿀떡 cereal that started going viral on social media outside Korea. All you need to do is pour milk to these rice cakes. Now I'm going to try it myself to see why this has gained such popularity. Who made this? It's so good. Along with this trend, rice cake exports have grown rapidly. According to South Korea's food ministry, exports exceeded $91 million in 2024, around triple the figure from 5 years ago. An expert expects continued growth, citing specific factors.
Rice cakes are tailored to local tastes, easy preparation, and a shelf life of over a year have boosted exports. The global market will continue to trend toward convenience and health-conscious foods as they are now.
He also said establishing local distribution networks globally will be key to maintaining the momentum. 박건우, Arirang News.
2025 Fall-Winter Fashion Week is back here in the capital city this week. Innovative designs and emerging trends shine, further cementing the city's place in the global fashion landscape. Our Yoon takes us there.
Want an exclusive first look at the hottest fall and winter fashion trends? Whether you're a trendsetter or just curious about what's next in the world of fashion, this week Dongdaemun Design Plaza in Central Seoul is the place to be. The 2025 Fall-Winter Seoul Fashion Week kicked off on Wednesday, bringing together top designers, industry professionals, and fashion enthusiasts to showcase the boldest, most innovative styles of the season with the aim of elevating global interest in K-fashion. The opening show features Hannashin, a brand that says it constantly strives to balance glamour with sustainability. Technology is helping it do that.
One technology our brand has particularly embraced is 3D printing. The first dress you saw in the show, embellished with jewels, was created using the fused deposition modeling method. Another dress featuring stars was made using polyjet printing. By exploring how to integrate 3D printing into fashion, we've been able to create innovative and creative designs.
These 3D printing technologies allow vivid prints to be attached directly to textures in a sustainable manner, such as precise material usage and reducing waste. Designer Shin also hinted that one of this year's fashion trends highlights the use of new technologies to create cruelty-free alternatives to traditional fur, with many brands leading the way. Also, to celebrate the 25th anniversary of Seoul Fashion Week, the opening day featured the first ever Seoul Fashion Forum, bringing together global industry leaders. James Fallon, Chief Content Officer of Fairchild Media Group, a leading source of fashion news and analysis, shared insights on the global competitiveness of Korean designer brands. This year's Fall-Winter Seoul Fashion Week also hosts a trade show with over 130 fashion brands, offering a platform for interaction between brands and more than 300 domestic and international buyers, with the goal of securing contracts worth around 8 billion Korean won, or approximately over $6 million.
The event highlights the latest trends with innovative presentations that mix fashion and the work of people from all around the world. Don't miss this exciting look at the future of fashion before it ends on February 9th. Yoon, Arirang News.
That is all we have for this weekend. Thank you so much for staying with us. Enjoy your weekend wherever you are.